that kind of fits in like with my own research, because I talk about a holographic culture, and the argument behind this is that there are beings which have, if you like, they've deconstructed the physical mechanics of reality, and so that obviously impacts upon their culture, and also in terms of how they manifest and materialise and dematerialise. I think it also explains, if you like, this dichotomy as well within the religious tradition. Let's say when you're talking about the Ruach Elohim, the high spirits, but the high spirits are often referred to as the Kayim, which are the living creatures. So they are at once both physical, but they are also spiritual. Perhaps in the same way that we are both physical beings, but also spiritual beings.
Well, yeah, I mean, an old friend of mine in America, I've lost contact with him for years, up until recently. And unbeknown to me, he says, I'm a Gnostic Christian. And I said, what do you mean by that?
There's a lot of interesting information.
And he said, well, I believe that Jesus was real, just not divine. But he was so spiritually in tune with the whole of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just the planet Earth.
Yeah.
And it was that separated him from the rest of the individuals. So it's a similar way of looking at things, but perhaps in reverse. But Dan puts his argument why he believes this. I mean, he's a PhD in mathematics as well.
Yeah.
And it's a logical theory, not an explanation. Yeah. It's a theory.
But that's a clever theory done by a scientist, as opposed to a person who's living rurally, who may have had lots of stories about the small people. Yeah. So that's, again, it's just a matter of perspective, and it's trying to explain the unexplainable. Right?
Yeah, and I'm glad to publish the books, because it puts more information into the literature that we haven't had access to
because
before.
There is always that danger that the information itself is being filtered as well, and this can be it can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah, that's why Paul and I have published a good bit of stuff from Russia, even bits that we don't necessarily agree with.
Right,
because we believe it's important to share it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we've done. And people who've not been involved in books or publishing talk about the money train. Well, I wish the hell I was on the money train, but
just out of interest, are there any cases which stand out for you, which you think, that's I don't subscribe to how that case has been interpreted, but it's perhaps an important case because it's got factors in which are important, which need to be deconstructed, even if they're being deconstructed in a way which is incorrect.
I mean, again, I'm not an expert, but Roswell, it's one of those cases that won't go away.
Yeah.
And if you look at it as a whole, rather than individual witness testimony, it started off with some debris in the desert on a rancher's farm. Yeah. And has ended up as a cosmic Watergate. Now, how did it get from a bit of junk to that? Same with Rendlesham Forest incident in 1918 in the UK.
Some lights in the forest.
Started off with some lights in the forest and ends up being a time machine from our future.
Right.
And how did you get from A to B?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody's lying or anything like that.
No.
But when you look at them as a whole, certainly Roswell, you can see how folklore and legend
is evolved and
are happening. It's living folklore almost.
Yeah.
And the researchers themselves are so close to it they can't necessarily see it.
Would you say with the Roswell case that was more likely to be some kind of military experiment, or do you think that...
Who knows? I mean, it's highly likely. Yeah. There was an incident there and the story has grown out of it.
Yeah.
And, take away the hoaxes, there are a few of them, but, and I mean, I imagine me as a young lad when I grew up, I found out that Robin Hood didn't exist, because it's folklore, but his grave is not far from here.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I do know that he's apparently a Yorkshireman.
Yeah. His grave was at Brighouse.
I know that there's a lot of very esoteric and occult information within the stories of Robin.
But I always thought he would have, he really did exist.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at it and the myth and how the legend of it's grown up, and he put that same picture onto a UFO incident that's grown, you can see how it's happening.
Yeah.
And will continue to grow as well. It changes, as has the whole UFO subject.
Yeah.
If you take a starting point of 1947, you can argue about things before. Yeah. We'll take that as a starting point to today. It has changed dramatically.
Yes. Yeah.
And what part does folklore and legend and mythology and everything else contributed to that?
Yeah.
An awful lot, I would say.
Yeah. Just historically, would you say that the Roswell case is a very it's obviously a very important case, but would you say that there are any other cases which are equally important, or perhaps cases which are sort of not really that well publicised but are of equal
I'm sure that, I mean, there's a number of them around the world. It's easier today because of you know, the internet, but there's still the language barriers at times. Hence my first two books that I've published have not been...
So, I mean, could this be the renaissance of ufology in terms of that, for the first time in a very long time, that we're getting information from different countries which perhaps have not really been filtered by, let's say, Hollywood or those type of concepts, and we're getting essentially what is raw data, but quite a lot of raw data.
Well, it's not for the first time. If you go back a few years, my late colleague Cynthia Hine from Zimbabwe, I mean, Cynthia used to travel across Africa investigating things. And some of the places she visited didn't even have, still at that point, didn't even have electricity.
Right.
So there wasn't the Western influence.
Yeah.
You know, they hadn't seen the movies or read the books.
And I could imagine in that respect, then they would be interpreted as spirits.
Spirits of their ancestors, But the point is that there wasn't that outside influence that we have in the West.
Yeah.
You know, and she, you know, I don't think she deserves the credit that she got.
Yeah, she documented quite a lot of important cases.
She was a great researcher and a lovely woman to boot. I mean, a huge sense of humour. She was a big lady.
Yeah.
And at one of our conferences, she stood up on the stage and I went to interview this chap whose ancestors had been, you know, cannibals. She said it'd take a month to eat me. She was a big lady.
Right.
But so there's lots of things. I mean, you can cherry pick which is your best case. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to decide. But who knows what's lying around the corner as well, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
One thing, there's one case that I think, you know, ought to be knocked on the head is the so-called Phoenix Lights.
Okay, yeah. Tell me a little bit about
the Phoenix. Not that many years ago, these row of lights were seen. They were filmed.
Yeah, multiple times.
And then afterwards, there was like these large V-shaped crafts that, you know, reported to be flying over.
So is there a prosaic explanation?
I think the lights initially were military flares.
Right. Okay.
Because there's a military base beyond the mountain they were filmed at.
Yeah.
And not only that, we had when you see these, and I'm talking huge V-shaped things. We had an incident similar to that in the late 80s over Humberside.
Right.
And I was literally live on the radio when people were reporting them.
Right.
And what they actually were seeing was a refuelling exercise. So you had two tanker aircraft that were going out over the North Sea with all the jets lining up behind them, and they only did refuelling over the sea, but they had RAF Bimbrock on Humberside then, and they phoned them. It's not to do with us. They were right. It wasn't from there. It was from a base down in the south of England, and they'd fly up the east coast and then go out over the North Sea. But what people were seeing was this huge triangle of lights. All moving in one, so it looked like one giant huge object, which it wasn't. We even had one chap told me it landed in his field.
Right.
It's impossible. You know, so just experience teaches you when you hear these things. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've decided to do slowly but surely, and behind you in the filing cabinet, is a lot of files of cases. So what I've tried to do, I've only just started it, is to contact some of these people, and have a look back at what happened to them. And see what they think about it now. Right. Has anything else happened since that time? Obviously, I have no idea if they still live at the same address. I'm literally just writing to them.
And just finding out what comes back.
And the first letter, unbelievably, the chap replied.
Right.
And he says, I wasn't prepared. He emailed me and gave me his phone number and I rang him. And he says, things have never stopped happening, Philip. And I've got his original letter, and it's something like nearly 20 years ago. Right. So I said, well, I'm not prepared for this now. I'll ring you back at a more convenient time so I can take more notes and things like that. So that's just something I've thought about doing for a while. And there's other bits and pieces that I've got in my files that's never seen the light of day.
Right, so you would like to publish some of that?
So I think I'll just write them up for certain magazines and just make it available then. On the publishing front, I've got a few more books lined up for next year, all being well. One deals with predominantly with the cover-up.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's Irina Scott, PhD in America.
The cover-up, is this going into the military?
Well, she worked at the Battelle Institute. That her husband worked at Area 51.
Yeah.
And I asked her to prove that respectfully, so she did. She sent me his papers.
So we're talking about backdated alien technology.
Yeah. Yeah. And
does she phrase it that way, or is she talking about secret?
Yeah, I mean, she's a well-respected scientist in her own right.
Okay.
And she's retired now.
Yeah.
But she is a firm believer in the UFO cover-up through her own experience, her own contacts, and her own research.
Yeah.
And with it being the 70th anniversary of Flying Saucers next year, I thought it would be the ideal time to publish it.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason, just it makes sense.
So is the manuscript finished?
It's done. We're just
proofreading it, that type of thing.
We're actually compiling the photographs for it.
Okay.
And what Irina has decided to do.
Did her husband tell her all this information, like when his
No, he worked at Nellis Air Force Base.
Or is this something she's just gradually pieced together over
She's
the
pieced
years?
it together. Plus, when she worked at one of the institutes, they asked her to look at UFO photographs.
Right. Was she surprised by that when she came across this material?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right.
And so she's having some special artwork done for it.
Yeah.
And we're going to release that, I don't know, early part of next year.
Right.
And a gentleman's just contacted me from Argentina as well. And we're looking at possibly publishing something from Argentina.
Right, yeah.
Again, he sent me the synopsis for it, most of which I've never ever heard of, because it's all been in Spanish before.
Yeah, and it's obscure for a Western
Absolutely,
world.
so that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And so that's ongoing, but I'm definitely wanting to look back at some of the old cases. And if need be, I'll just write them up as they are now, because most of them have never been published.
Are you planning on releasing a new book?
Not personally. I'm not.
No.
I've got one that I've always wanted to write, but I've not got round to it yet.
Which is?
One of the things I've been compiling down the years is UFO landing cases in Britain.
Right, fascinating subject.
Yeah, because Alan Hynek talked about high strangeness.
Yeah.
And it was one of the indications that literally the stranger these incidents were, the less likely there was to be a conventional explanation or a mistake.
Okay. And
so he termed it, case has high strangeness. We can't get much high strangeness than something landing in the field next to you. Yeah. And most of them, I would say, cannot be explained in conventional terms as misidentifications or stars or planets. Yeah. Because most of them happen in daylight and they're close.
So we are actually dealing with some type of phenomenon, whatever that is.
Exactly. And so it's something I've been compiling. Yeah. And at some point, hopefully.
So is this over many years then, right?
It's been a lot of years. I've been involved. Nearly 40 years.
Nearly 40 years of cases.
I've been collecting these for quite a while. Some I've interviewed personally, some are from colleagues.
Yeah.
Whether it'll ever see the light of day, I don't know. But it's just ongoing.
Right.
But something else may crop up in between times, because we've got so much information certainly from Russia that we've never published.
Yeah.
Whether there's a market for it or an interest is a different matter.
Yeah, so well, I guess when you're looking at other people's work, then you're trying to prioritise the time in terms of collating your own data and publishing that, and obviously publishing and other people's work.
I've not been in the best of health in recent years, so that's kind of slowed things down.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is I can do it as and when I want.
Yeah.
I'm not under any obligation.
Not under any pressure.
Yeah. I've explained to the guy in Argentina, if I agree to publish your book, I'm not going to give you a date.
Yeah.
It'll be ready when it's ready, because it'll need editing.
Yeah.
Although his English is pretty good, it will still need editing.
Yeah.
And I've got
need to read
that.
through it very carefully.
So you want to, if you want it out the next month, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Find someone else to publish it. Yeah. So these are your new cases then, in terms of and reviewing old cases.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Dr. John Mack earlier. The last time I met John before he died, it was one of the things he was interested in doing.
Going back over his old cases.
Yeah, going back, and not necessarily his old cases, but others from before he became involved.
Yeah.
To take a fresh look at it. And I said, why? He said, well, I've learned so much more since then about the phenomenon, about the subject. I can go back and view these now with a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah.
You
see, this is quite interesting, because I've been reading Mac relatively sort of recently. And it seems to me that in his later books that he was actually projecting more of his own opinions onto the phenomenon than when he'd just begun. I found that his earlier books are, let's say, a little bit more impartial and are perhaps more interesting. Yeah. That's not to berate his later books.
No, I mean, I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
But
so
I'll give you another example. I mean, I had a conference in London many years back where the main speaker was Whitley Strieber,
right,
the author of Communion, of course. And one of the sort of parting comments that Whitley gave, it was a terrific presentation. And they asked him about the future of research.
Yeah.
And his answer was, we're learning to ask better questions.
Okay.
And I thought that was quite profound and very, very valid indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
In other words, as we're learning more about it, we're learning to ask.
Yeah. You see, myself, from looking at this phenomenon, I think that there's going to be more deconstruction of occult symbolism in terms of knowledge which has been hidden within the secret societies. And I know in a sense that this, for many people, this is bordering on, let's say, the conspiratorial, but I think that there is so much information which has been embedded and hidden within the secret societies. If for the want of the better word, I'm going to use the word the Illuminati, but myself, just having an interest in languages, I've deconstructed the Illuminati. So the term Illuminati itself originates from the Akh-Zori, which is the Arabic word for the Brothers of Light. But this is a corruption from the original Aramaic word, which were the Akh-Zari. Now the word Zari is an angel, but it's a polymorphic word. It also means a visitor, or it also means an alien. So the Brothers of Light is used, if you like, as a code word for the Brothers of Angels or the Brothers of Aliens. And so for me, I think that not only are we going to deconstruct, let's say, some of we're going to obviously look at UFOs in Russia, Poland, and all this additional material is going to come out. But I also think that there's going to be quite a lot of additional material in terms of people deconstructing the ancient languages, going back to the old traditions, such as the hieroglyphs, because I've never been convinced that the hieroglyphs have been transliterated properly. So if you want to understand what the Egyptians were talking about, then we have to go back to the glyphs, but we can't go back to the glyphs because what we're being told, right, is problematic. Now, my interpretation on this is that there is, if you like, a priesthood which is keeping this knowledge out of the public domain. But I think with the internet, you're going to find more and more independent researchers doing their own research and putting together some of these pieces.
Yeah, I mean, the internet is a monster that's growing all the time, of course. And I think the UFO subject itself will grow many other arms that we perhaps can't see at the moment. We can't,
can't even begin to anticipate.
Absolutely. I mean, from when I first began compared to what it is now, it's totally different.
Yeah. Do you think it's getting more specialised and more niche? Like fragmenting into thousands of
Yeah, I mean,
pieces?
there aren't the established groups with hundreds and hundreds and thousands of members now.
Right.
It's still MILFON in America, but it's not. Yeah. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
When
more independent people, just like what we're
when
doing.
I finished at BUFORA, they had 1,000 members.
Right.
Now there's a handful.
Okay.
Because now you don't need to join a group to go and find the information to get involved. You can do it on your own.
You just set up your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I lectured at my local high school, and I told the pupils there, you don't need anyone. And I said, look, I'm just a daft lad from East Ardsley. I have no formal education. I have no degree, no nothing. But my interest in this subject has opened up this whole world for me.
Of knowledge.
Which, from the village that I came from, you either went down the mines or you went to work in the mill, or maybe even a prison. That was the kind of place.
Yeah.
But thanks to ufology educated me. The high school didn't.
No.
This subject has in a myriad of different ways.
Yeah.
And it will continue to develop and change and move. And again, if you think back to the simplistic days of the Space Brothers, in the 50s, it's totally different now, and it will change again.
Again, I also think from an occult perspective that a lot of the information, let's say from the Space Brothers, this is my interpretation. I think you've got CIA operations which are doing psychological operations, but they're threading in very profound esoteric information into this. So, for example, with the Venetians or those who come from Venus, Venus is used in the ancient mystery traditions as it's a codification of the dog star. because it's the brightest body within our solar system, coupled with the fact that dogs often confuse Venus with the dog star, and so bark at Venus. So there is, if you like, this esoteric signifier of the dog star. And so when you look at this, if you like, this older material, and I think that this is actually very important, it's sometimes you have to look at this with discerning eyes, because what we're being presented is often we're being given truth, but we're also being given disinformation, and it's folded together and packaged together in a way which is very complex and is actually very difficult to decipher and deconstruct. And I think perhaps, hopefully, with the internet, which is a double-edged sword, and we know that there's a lot of wrong information, outrageous claims, disinformation, but there's also information which is beginning to break out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we call it for want of a better word, ancient astronauts.
Yeah.
Something I personally would never rule out.
Yeah.
I think it would be arrogant to rule it out completely.
Yeah. You see, with the Rosicrucians, this symbol AA is used within the Rosicrucians. So when I think of ancient astronauts, I'm instantly thinking of the Rosicrucians. Now, the Rosicrucians are important because, as we were talking earlier, privately, I talked about the symbol of the rose. The symbol of the rose is used in the ancient mystery traditions because they believed in what you can essentially describe as a grafted bloodline, the grafted bloodline between angels and men. But the term angel is interchangeable with an alien within the ancient languages. So the Rosicrucians, whether you believe this to be true or not, but I'm saying that there are individuals who do believe this to be true within the secret society network, within even the government itself, who believe this to be true, that, if you like, angels, aliens, whatever you want to call them, that they interface and interact with mankind. So the symbol of the ancient astronaut fits in with a whole gamut of other information, other esoteric and occult information.
Yeah, I mean, my only worry about the subject in general is that I mean, I'm getting on in years.
Yeah.
Where's the next generation?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I got into this when I was about 19, 20.
Right.
I don't see that many of them around. Or if
is it morphing into something else? Because I think a lot of the material now online is very, into the idea of a conspiracy or very conspiratorial, which may or may not be occurring, and that's a matter of perspective. But do you think that there's certainly more outrageous claims which are being made, or that there's certainly a distortion which is occurring?
Yeah, I mean, people think because it's in the internet it must be true.
Yes, there is that problem.
And they'll say, oh, but this is an official NASA photograph and it proves that we didn't go to the moon. Well, how do you know it's an official NASA photograph? Just because some idiot said so, it means nothing.
Exactly.
You know, have you gone to the NASA archives and got it from there? No, well then, so that therein lies the problem. I've tried to encourage, some younger people to get involved. Yeah. Because whatever... sounds wrong, but whatever angle or approach you want to look at the subject from, the information is there, or you can go out and find it for yourself. Yeah,
and I think that's much more productive, like what you did in the old days, like you would just get into your car and drive off and actually interview a person.
Well, they want, apart from the telephone, there wasn't any real way of doing it, apart from that,
Do you think that in that respect that the quality of research in general was better?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't be that arrogant to say it were any better, but certainly different.
Different, right.
Because there are those things you can retrieve it all on the internet, which you can't. If that's the case, then why have we got all these paper files behind them? Exactly. They're not on the internet, I just think it's different, I just think it's going to morph into something that I don't really know what's going to happen. Yeah. It'll change. And time will tell whether that's for the good or the bad. There are still those who say it's a complete waste of time. There is nothing mysterious about it.
I totally disagree with that.
I would. But I said, well, even if it is a waste of time, my time to waste.
Exactly.
So, go take a jump. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I agreed to do a lecture next year, because this guy irritated me so much. He said it's a complete waste of time. I actually sat down and thought, well, is he right? I thought, well, hang on a minute. No, he's not, I'll leave the audience to make up their own mind, because that's going to be part of my presentation. Yeah, is to say I haven't done a lecture for a few years. This is why.
Yeah.
You decide at the end whether it's a waste of time.
Well, I mean, we can certainly say that arguably this phenomenon has influenced the religions and even culture of mankind as well.
Well, exactly. It's in popular culture everywhere, and
not
other
necessarily
things
just
as well.
popular culture. I'm talking about religion and symbolism as
yeah,
well.
Absolutely.
Mm. So
it's not a waste of time. It's just a case of where it's going to go from here. And of course, I'll be a zillionaire next year when I've made my movies and my publishing empire has outgrown everyone in my dreams. But no, I mean, another thing with the publishing, it's just a way of me helping out other people as well. We're grateful for the people that publish my books.
Yeah.
I think these two gentlemen wouldn't have had a cat in hell's chance. Peter from Poland and Dan.
Mm.
Yeah, in their own country, no problem, but in the English language, and the technology's there to do it.
What's the name of your printing press so that we can just...
I just call myself Flying Disc Press.
Flying Disc Press, okay.
Disc with a K.
With a K. So we can find that on the internet then if we
You'll find me, and I'm on, I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay.
But it's no huge big thing. It's just my little way of trying to help.
Yeah.
And I know the two individuals in question were really chuffed.
Yeah.
They're not interested in making any money. They'll take it if it comes their way because they're not rich.
Yeah.
But that wasn't their motivation. They're just pleased to see this.
See their work in print.
So these are kind of individuals who've taken their own initiative to go and do their own research, interviewing witnesses, historical data and stuff. Do you see any value in doing field research like you've done in the past yourself?
It just depends on what you want out of the subject, Anthony. I mean, we honestly believed that so many sightings were coming in and around Carlton Moor back in the 80s that if we went there often enough, that we had a more than pretty good chance of coming face to face with it. I think I got a glimpse of it, but that's all. Yeah. Now, if that's what you want, I would recommend it. Right. Because we had a lot of fun as well. Yeah. You've been to Carlton.
Oh yeah.
I think the pub's still there, the Swan. We had a couple of happy nights in there, but at one point the Swan used to have our flyer on their notice board,
right?
And it was there permanently,
right?
So I'd encourage people if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
However, you may want to specialise in one particular aspect of the subject, which you can glean a lot of information online to get you up and running.
Yeah.
So it depends what your own passion is. Mine started because that was the only way I could do it. I wasn't content with somebody else telling me.
No, you needed to find out.
I wanted to find out for myself, and if I couldn't confront the phenomenon face to face, the next best thing is to speak to somebody that had, and I still enjoy that, and it's something I don't do as much as I used to do, but if I get the chance, then I certainly do.
Yeah, what struck me as really interesting was like the Project Penine that you were involved with. Not so much what you were looking at, because there was some fascinating stuff in there, but the fact that you all collaborated together so closely and it seemed to work really well. Yeah,
and Project Penine was started by David Clarke, or Dr. David Clarke as he is now, or Clarkey as I know. Yes. But I mean, we did cooperate, and we all had different ideas. We certainly didn't agree with each other. Right. Didn't fall out. No. But it was an interesting project, and one that we thought, right, David's working on this, and I've got some. Pass it on to him, and collaborate. Yeah. And that's the way to do it, And I've always done that. If somebody said, "Oh, Philip, you interviewed Mr. So and so. Have you got his interview?" Yeah. Yeah. You can have it. Yeah. And I still do that to this very day. Right. I mean, like I mentioned earlier on, the Reverend Father Gill case from Papua New Guinea. Well, I used to have his file. Right. So I scanned it in, and I said, "Anybody want a copy? Right. I'll send you it." Yeah. And there was a guy in it was New Zealand or Australia. I've been searching for years for it. Right. I couldn't believe that I got it, and I just emailed it to him, and I went over the moon. That's what it's all about,